However, 你好, Lauren, Cassis,
Hi.
sadly not present. We have a wonderful family visitors from Vessel, so at any moment we might hear a small child commotion. We'll see. We'll see. I'll go on mute and just stop talking. If so, this is Office Hours 32. I apologize to anyone last week who got excited about Office Hours 30. We were already on Office Hours 30, so this is now 32. Improperly labeled by voice, now properly labeled on YouTube. Nice couple comments this week about people who watch these. I'm still skeptical. Of all you because I'm like, how could only have 6 views yet 3 of you have said I enjoy your weekly chat. So I think I'm not going to accuse anyone of lying. They're wonderful people. So, but I appreciate anyone who tunes into this, joins us, get together every 12 p.m. Friday Eastern Standard Time and chat about some of the stuff we learned for the week and just bigger things that are going on. And excited to be joined by 2 people today. One of them, Lauren, and the other, 𝗕𝗏. Maybe I'll let you guys do a quick hi or intro or anything you want to say, and then we can jump into some topics.
Sure. This is Lauren. I do the accounting here, lots of admin work and lots of security, getting more into that. Nothing too much to say. It's a beautiful day outside. It's been a beautiful week. So take advantage of that summer while we got it.
Cool. I'm 𝗕𝗏, digital strategist here, doing everything from writing to helping with some business strategy and yeah, back to talking about focus.
Yeah. Always. I felt bad. I felt like a bad person at the end of that one where I said something about the end of the summer, and everyone felt very sad at the end of the office hours. I apologize for that. I felt guilt all weekend. But at the same time, it's like I can feel that cold wind starting to come in, and I can feel those days starting to get shorter. So I also realism. Okay, we've got a couple topics here. I'm think of the best way to start this. I'm going to jump in. I have one that I'm really interested in. It sort of hones in on a couple of these other things that we're talking about, which is a wonderful book, which I'm reading right now, which I wish I had read earlier. I'm not sure if anyone who's reading has wished they had read it earlier. And really, book is Crossing the Chasm. I'm only about halfway through, so still early and premature to give any real insights from that. But it's nice when you come across something that is applying so directly to your life. And I had just read Venture Deals by Brad Feld. That book was very applicable to what we're doing and where we are right now, but also very technical, full of legal jargon and not that fun to read. Crossing the Chasm is wonderful to read, and I don't want to put down the book when I'm reading it. And really the idea of, there's different stages of customers, and in order to cross the chasm to sell successfully to those customers, there's a lot of different priorities. There's a lot of different things you have to do. And additionally, the big driver of where I'm in the book right now is this idea. They use the metaphor of D-Day, which is a pretty violent metaphor. But basically, the goal of D-Day and to land on the beaches of Normandy was to establish a beachhead for then the liberation of Europe. And so, if you're a company, you have disruptive technology, and you're trying to make an impact and get into the market, you need to establish a beachhead, and that beachhead is a niche customer segment that allows you to then sort of, I guess, that other metaphor they use is bowling pins. When you knock down that other pin, when you knock down that first pin, other pins start to get knocked down too. So, really interesting perspective, and I think this is something that we've heard, throughout our work. Is that sometimes people look at the system and see it as horizontal, and for you to be able to create true value, you need to go into more verticalized solutions. And I think now the commotion started. That might be someone else. That's exactly. And so that's what we're trying to figure out right now and do work. And there's a lot of companies I would say that are in early stages where they don't even have, for example, data points, where it's like, we don't have any customers, we haven't worked with anyone, there's no expertise, there's no technology built. How do we prioritize this? From our perspective now, we have some data points to say, okay, this is where we're creating the most value. This is where we're seeing the most adoption. And this is where our product is built out enough to create that value. So I'll stop there for a second, let me know if you guys have any thoughts on that, or you can dive deeper into it. And 𝗕𝗏, you can also loop some of maybe your topic into that as well.
Sure. So I think it's interesting because I think now this, the stuff being discussed in Crossing the Chasm is stuff that, has maybe been talked about in the past or brought up before, but maybe now, since we've been having quite a bit of traction in like various, I guess, customer segments, that it's sort of reinforcing that mindset of, okay, how do we really capture or gain traction in, let's say, a specific segment, and like whatever that segment may be, and then use that success as leverage to not only have more funds to develop the other parts of the business, but also just to have a foothold in any market, right? Because it's one thing to have, one client in this market, another client in another market. That to me is not really, for example, sign of product market fit necessarily. Versus, if you start getting 2, 3, 5 clients in like a specific vertical, now you start, you also learn a lot, I think, from your customers, right? Like we have a couple of customers that have probably taught us in like the past, 3 months, let's say, has taught us so much about our platform and how it's influenced our messaging. It's influenced how we've thought about who we're serving. And I think that's a great thing. Focus is always good, right? Because especially when you are a team of limited capacity, not in brain power, but just in feasible hours in a day. I think focus also just brings a certain level of clarity to the work you do. So, I guess feeding that into some other points, it's like, one thing we're trying to do right now is sort of take another shot in a maybe more refined way of building out these user journeys or user stories, which also leads into, which will ideally help us figure out, which features, because I've been working on this thing, but it's like, I feel like our platform, for example, is broken up. There's valuable elements in terms of solutions, and there's valuable elements in terms of features. So we have these solutions that are these all-encompassing, like automated transcription workflows, embeddable recorders. These are the solutions that we offer to customers. But then even within those individual solutions, there are specific features that speak to different market segments differently, right? So, I'm not sure if like redaction, can I just bring that up? Probably, yeah. So like, for example, one thing that we've found interesting among some of the clients is, automatic redaction of personally identifiable information. And, that's a very useful value add for specific market segments, but probably not for another group of people. So it's like, if let's say someone takes advantage of the PII redaction in just basic automated transcription, that's, to me, that in itself is almost a very specific user journey or workflow, right? Because it's like they're tacking on this thing we offer in the system to enhance their existing workflow. So maybe before they had a person sitting there manually redacting all these documents that came through, but now we're like, okay, like all the other automated transcription solutions, we do the exact same thing they do but the way we do it is we actually enhance your entire workflow by removing the need for multiple manual touch points, right? Versus, if we're trying to land a client that's just looking for baseline transcription, or we're trying to convince someone to use us as just their bulk transcription option, those are all kind of various marketing, sales, and even product language that we'd use for those segments, right? So, yes. So I guess as a question, it's like, one is, determining which features are most important for which customer segments, and what's the best way to validate these features for different customer segments. So let's say there's features. How do we prioritize essentially by bucketing our customers into more manageable groupings?
Yeah, I love the D-Day analogy, and establishing the foothold for the territory you're going into, which I kind of feel is relevant to the features too, because you kind of have to have like the proper weaponry for whoever you're going up against. And we can stay at home all day and sharpen our weapons and get it all prepared, but if we're not actually going to take it to the fight, then yeah, no, it's just going to sit there collecting dust. With that in mind, what exactly do you think is like the first beach to hit then, in a way?
Well, I mean, that's a big question. I think there's, as the all, likes to, I think, remind us is there's that sometimes you get, bursts of inspiration or insight and then you go. And, but I think there's also some strategic thinking here because, another part is that then drives product direction, messaging, and all these other important things. So there are some early signals for us where we've seen, again, large libraries of media where we can provide value for research and not just being sort of the like there's slivers in all of those stages, right? Like first, like one thing that our system is not doing at all, for just example, on the research one is like there's no part of our system, probably not really where I want to get into, to be honest, of like the recruitment of finding your candidates for the research. You know what I mean? Like there's huge systems built just around that and segmenting them into different audiences and demographics types and everything. And those systems seem really well done. And then the next step I would say is, okay, then you've got your web conferencing solution where you're actually hosting those. And then the next part is where it starts to go into, I would say, the transcription and then the analysis stage where our system is more reliable and capable and what we love. You know what I mean? Like what I want to accomplishing what, is going to continue to grow is just the generation of language-driven media, and to be able to extract value from that and as quickly and automatically as possible is going to continue to produce value. So the question, I guess, is where we fit in that pipeline. I think we're pretty close because we know what we don't do and what we can't, but it's just like focusing down on that. And I guess the challenge there also goes, for example, I would say, a great company like Rev, right? Rev handles transcription. They handle it well, they handle it efficiently, and they turn it around. Then they're sort of done. You know what I mean? It's like we did our part in this sort of puzzle. Now we've given you the clean data to go do the rest. Whereas what we've tried to do at Speak here has been take that part of the process that Rev has done and the transcriptions are doing both automatically and through human transcription, but add on sort of the layer of analysis, visualization, and exporting of sort of reports that we want. And not all of that is done fully beautifully, and there's lots of little gaps in there. But I think if we can be part of this tail end part of that process, we can create value and build more reason for people to come back and use our system. And if we can be part of the insights generation process where we help them produce a breakthrough, if we help them produce that breakthrough quicker, then there's a lot of gratitude given to the platform. So those are like a couple of the things that I'm seeing. It's still early in that process, but a lot of things that we're passionate about as a team, and then also do have the technical ability to execute with the system that we have fit into that stack.
And I think the actual one of the main priorities of crossing the chasm, I just had like a very very recent view on the book just from the one video that I shared, but it seems like you really need to focus more on who you're targeting to, because I feel like we've prepared well enough and the actual move on into whichever market we feel is we can have the most impact on, as also big enough to be worth aiming for too. Yeah, just random thought, I guess.
I think that's a great point, because and it's something we've discussed and maybe need to just go a bit more in depth into, right? Like for example, the other day I put together this list of 100 potential clients in a market that we realistically, like based on the success we've seen so far with existing onboarded clients, there's no harm in pitching to them and at least getting them on a demo call, right? Where it's like part of that idea, like I think we talked about it at our quarterly meeting, but this idea of 1,000 true fans / customers, right? And that's nice at a baseline level where it's like, okay, like we have 1,000 individuals, let's say, paying us $20 a month to use the platform. It's warm and cozy, but it doesn't necessarily pay the bills. Versus if you were to even get, even without being too radical, like even 10 large customers who are willing to invest in where their pain is so great and their time is so valuable, where even if you're saving them 20% of the time that they'd otherwise spend doing things manually, and that 20% is worth thousands of dollars to them, right? Then, and you're fitting that market gap, like I think that's kind of the type of people we need to go after, and figuring out the whole messaging platform, that's a whole separate thing versus just consumer facing language, right? Because if we talk about consumers care about cheap, fairly simple to use, and just give me what I asked for, kind of. Versus if we go after more technically minded, or there's a bit more higher level thought required, or not to say individuals' needs aren't valuable, but from a business perspective, like if their time is just highly valuable, how do we basically go in with the pitch of, hey, we know your time is valuable. We know you hate wasting time because that means you're wasting money. Here's how we just slot into your workflow to save you both time and money. Who that is, we're still drafting that out, because I think that's going to have to be a bit of a mindset shift, just in terms of how we approach it, full cycle as a team, like not just marketing, not just sales, not just dev, but it's like, okay, if we go after these people and we've determined that they're the best market for us to go after, everything we do needs to be focused around serving that market need, right? Well, obviously without abandoning existing customers as well.
Well, I mean, we attract, for better or worse, basically innovators and a lot of like early adopters / visionary people, right? So they're like, oh wow, technology. I wonder how we can apply this, and they're willing to take risks or invest or deal with buggy products because they're trying to figure out this sort of solution that matches this vision that they have. And some of them have budgets because they've been very successful because of that visionary mindset. Other ones are smaller startups, right? And they're just trying to figure out how can they accomplish this big vision that they have. And that's where we see a lot of companies gravitate towards us because of that. They see, oh my God, not only the capturing of voice and the analysis of potential, but how do we visualize, how do we interact with this data, how can we embed this in our own applications? But where we want to move down, or move up towards is like, I guess, labeled in the book as like pragmatist. And when it comes to that, what they care about is like reliable, affordable, and if they're going to adopt something into a system that is already a workflow and a running business, like a successful business that's been around for a long time, there's a switching cost, there's risk involved, and so you need to be pretty convincing and compelling of why you should even take the chance to make that switch. And so, from our perspective, that, with that mindset or with that mental model, like there's a lot of things that we can do. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else to add there. Like, I mean, I still got a lot of thinking to do based off this, because from my perspective, I'm in my own way, I guess, an early adopter or innovator. I love testing different tech. I love playing around with devices. But when we get into sort of, bigger businesses, there's a lot more from a practical sense that needs to be communicated for us to make those wins. Was it that way? Also, now I think we're seeing a reemergence in innovation, and there was forced innovation during the pandemic, but before the pandemic, there was a lot of, status quo and people experimenting it, and a dramatic shift in the world also in some ways stopped some of the innovation and forced companies in a rightful way to focus on fundamentals of their business and maybe print innovation off the shelf for a little bit.
When you refer to yourself as like one of the innovators or early adopters, is there anything like that comes to mind as far as like other companies or other softwares goes? Anything that's really standed out in the last year?
I guess just one of first things I came across that led me to think of like the value of this in general was actually IBM. It was a tone analyzer and personality insights that is a little online demos. And it was basically, how can I analyze text and, for example, automatically detect someone's personality? And that at that point, when I first came across it, it was relatively recently released. And to have that experience was just like a mind-blowing thing. So that probably didn't answer your question exactly, but like as soon as I saw that there was that possibility and done in such a sort of easy to digest way, my mind of like what the possibilities are and what the future looks like in terms of like understanding language data really expanded. And so, in a more maybe again practical way, it's like, okay, this is a cool thing. I'm going to put this in the background and continue my business day to day. But for me, that was such a compelling breakthrough of imagination of what was possible that I pursued it. And, that's what eventually was conceptualized and then built into what Speak AI is. So, yeah, I don't know if that adds any clarity to that.
No, that makes sense. It actually kind of goes into your other topic too of what can we learn from language. So has that, what exactly do you mean? Like, what can we learn from language? Like semantically, like what the messages that's trying to be sent around, or trying to talk a bit more on the research side of things, natural language processing?
Well, so I've been working on this behemoth of a content piece for a long time, which is like how to analyze and visualize basically speech or language data. And like one of our core, mandates, like when we've been successful with businesses specifically, or just people, like just hopping on a call and being helpful, is like where we're teaching them something, or like de-risking a situation, or informing them of something that they need to consider in their, for example, process that they hadn't thought of before, and whether that is again like audio quality, audio file type, how to optimize transcription, like how to, for example, even train a speech recognition system to make sure that that transcript is the most accurate. Like those teaching moments are when people also see us as the right people to work with and will make the investment in us. And so like one of our drives, and one of my drives, is like, what can we learn from language? And if the more work we do in that space and educate people on that in a way that can resonate, obviously with technical people, but beyond that with people who want to use software platforms like what we've built, the more value we build for our brand. That's fine over today. I don't know what's going on. There's an air show, maybe. I was wondering if that's sorry. But that's what I was sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, it's an air show going on, I think.
Yeah, I've never heard a plane at this place in my entire life, and then there's just been 2 jets flying over as loud as possible. So, like, what I'm getting to is there's a core layer for us here, which is like educate people on how to produce the best transcriptions, because when you produce the best transcriptions, you then have the most accurate data to then do your analysis on. But what a lot of people then get lost in or stuck in is this process, which is, what now? And what can I learn from this? I just recorded 30 interviews. I have all these transcripts. And again, the question is what now, or what can I learn from this? So this sort of process of helping us articulate what we can understand from language, then re-articulate that back to our customers, that builds our expertise, our thought leadership, but it also will bleed through our product and into this and how we productize sort of the analysis that's being done. So whether that's pre-building out categories around emotion, that like we've done, here's a category on happiness, here's how you can automatically categorize these transcripts, or here's how you can visualize this information, especially if you have, for example, recordings over time to see what's emerged over time. The more we educate people on that, the better we can be as a company and the more value we can produce.
And our focus is definitely on that as well. The research side of it, of asking the question of, what more can we do from that? And you keep on moving forward, and you find new applications that can make life a lot easier for a lot of different people, just for different reasons. But it's the mindset of, what more can happen with language and with what we're saying with each other, or even with what we are saying with ourselves when it comes to like even taking notes. So,
when we've done a lot of research on this, this is not starting from scratch. Like we've had the opportunity to bump into some very intelligent people, some very technically minded, some very research minded. But some of the research that we've done already on NLP, on speech to text, on sentiment analysis, even again, how do you use time as an axis to measure this analysis, topic duration, these things are already pretty in depth within our system and also within our knowledge. So just again, to distilling that down in a way that is meaningful and that can connect with people from different levels of technicality. So I'm not sure, Neil, anything? Oh, Neil's gonna be right back too. Okay. If there's anything else from that, like we've also broken down something that our system's not fully capable of yet. Something that we're asked, like I don't know how many times we've had meetings like this, which is like, okay, cool, really cool. You can cluster these words together and you can tell us how many times this has happened. But what now? So how can you distill that into, for example, how can you summarize this? What is the most meaningful information? And then the bigger driver is always like, can you detect like laughter, or can you detect not just what is being said, but how it's being said, and use that and factor that into the analysis? So that's been a big driver for like what we wanted to invest in from a development capacity. It just hasn't been able to happen yet. But that will happen, and all of a sudden we unlock even more potential from an analysis perspective, and then like what we can learn from language. So a lot of work to do there, but like the foundational system is already ready and available. Now we just need to add this other layer of analysis to manage the information.
Yeah, there's a lot of expectations with how easy it is to mold language around, but just the way that things get set up, it's kind of, this is what's available and you can do with it what you will. But then most people are saying that I have my own use case for it. I have this report that I need to fill out like automatically too, if that's even manageable. But like all these different ways that they need the all the data and all the language to be, shaped into fit perfectly into their own little life, where it becomes a lot more of a hands-on experience, because then you have to figure out like, what is your life, like what are you doing, what do you need this data for, and how do you need it shaped. And you can't do that for everybody, because everybody's going to have different things. It's got to look at it from a bird's eye view down into like the actual market and how many people actually live the same life and have the same needs for their work with language.
One other like situation, it's also like, what are the limitations of technology, and then where does a manual intervention happen? So the one opportunity that was awesome was a research firm, and they presented solutions in their interviews. And so basically their thought process was, if they presented these solutions and they spoke it very clearly, that they could say, hey, solution one, and then that person could say, I feel, based on what you presented to me in solution one, I feel 80% confident that this will work. And the idea was that, the system could then see this as a solution, and then this was the response from that person that they were interviewing. And then because that was done 30 times over 30 interviews, for example, that you could automatically calculate the totals of each solution. And like, in a way that is possible, but the depth of technicality required for that and the training of the system to be able to do that and understand the context, everything around that scenario is immense. And so maybe that's an amazing investment in one case, but is that an investment that's going to pan out? And how many people are presenting, for example, solutions or things like that in such a well-structured way that that's a repeatable thing that you can go vertical on and continue to sell and repurpose. So those are the challenges that are emerging. But from that process, we learned, again, what are the value adds that we can add and what are the limitations, not just of our technology, but of the technology in general without, a lot of work on top of it. So I'm going to let you guys talk for a second. I'm going to be right back.
I mean, I was upset because I thought it was going to magically be my smartwatch, but it was just some folks asking if I was going to be voting for Mr. O'Toole over there.
Oh, okay. What'd you say?
What did I say?
On your face.
Yeah, basically, more or less.
Nice.
I mean, no, I wasn't that rude. They seemed nice enough. But I just told
that's
them
not Tyler.
That's not Tyler.
Hello.
Tyler, that's cultural appropriation.
How's it going?
Pretty good. I'm just deep into a couple of things, and I'm running out of the space here to join a call, so I'm sitting next to Tyler.
Oh, okay. No worries. What are you working on?
Couple of front-end changes for the responsiveness in the insight panel to make it. If you see in the small screen of the tablet, people are using a lot of Transcription Pro, so just trying to help them to make a ease on the platform.
Nice.
Yeah, just watching these log rocket sessions lately to see and understand how people are reacting on the platform and what we can learn through the process.
Yeah, because I was telling Tyler, like, I'll sometimes watch log rocket sessions, and it's like it's sometimes painful to see how people are getting lost, like in their journey.
Yeah,
right? Like they're like, oh shit, where do I go?
Quite hope you guys have a great conversations. Continue.
Right.
I'll see
You
you
too, man.
in
Good
the
luck.
next episode.
See you later. What's the purpose of this smartwatch anyways? Are you trying to track something?
I mean, I had one a couple years ago, like two. So it started with the 𝗵𝗄. I don't know if you remember the 𝗵𝗄 or you've heard of it.
No.
It was like it
it
was
a
the
Pebble?
Canadian success story at the time. Canadian success and failure. Like so they started in Waterloo. They were basically the first smartwatch, right? So it was an e-ink screen. You'd got like 10 days battery life out of it. Did all your notifications. It was awesome. And then over the course of a couple of years, right? Like at one point they were valued, I think, at like $4 billion, and like Citizen offered to buy them for $4 billion, and then the guy said no. And then company troubles, like production troubles, sales troubles, and then I think it was Fossil. I think Fossil offered to buy them again for $1 billion, and they again said no. And then Q, 3-4 years after that, basically they were like out of runway, sold to Fitbit for like 130 million or something.
The hubris was the end of them.
What's the name of the founder, Tyler? I feel like because he's part of 𝗦𝗍, I think. 𝗵𝗄 founder Eric 𝗕tože𝗿. That's his name. 𝗕tože𝗿. Yeah. So I love. I mean, I still have my 𝗵𝗄. It's amazing watch still. But I wanted something new, a bit more robust. Yeah, the battery life isn't going to be ideal, but none of the like an Apple Watch, I think, is like 30 something hours. So,
yeah. Well, what would you say is your main use out of it though? Like you're not tracking anything for that?
oh no.
Like
So for me, I mean, like
biometrics?
the goal would be to start tracking a bit of like, sleep tracking is one of them. It has a couple of body stat stuff, like you can do like ECGs, because I've been having like sleep trouble, for example, and I'm trying to determine if I have sleep apnea, which would suck if I do.
Well, you should
but
probably go get tested for that. I'm
no,
not
for
sure
sure.
if the smartwatch can
But
tell you.
like, I mean, because like the problem with a lot of like, at least my family doctor is like, unless it's like conclusive, like, because I even asked him, because I was like, hey, like, could I go get like a stress test, right? Like just for peace of mind. And he's like, I like, you're a young dude with like no like obvious signs of stuff. So he's like, I don't want you undergoing unnecessary testing, essentially. But part of it's that. The other part is when I'd like to get back into running, and when I run, I really dislike having my phone in my pocket. And so like it becomes like like a portable music player as well. In general, it's just nice. Like I've wanted a new smartwatch for like 4 years now, but nothing's ever caught my eye. And this one kind of caught my eye on that front as well.
And you're not worried about like electromagnetic radiation?
Am I not worried? I mean, honestly, like at this point, I use so much technology. If I'm gonna get some weird arm growth, like if my a third arm grows out of my neck, it's probably happened already.
Yeah, well, that's probably not. That's probably not from the wash. It's probably some sort of toxic goo you got.
No.
Maybe a superhero now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know Samsung's not listening to this, but Samsung, your customer service, it's horrendous.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. And like just their logistics planning, everything about the process has been terrible. But I try not to complain and just wait. I like trying to be patient.
Yeah, it'll come. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
What's that, 17 days? That's what I've got. If I go past those 17 days, Nicole, I'm gonna mentally break.
I mean, it's been 17 days.
Well, yeah, but the 17
the
days until the
extension.
20, yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm hoping. Well, I was just joking with Lauren because like basically when I left, it's because like someone was like ring the doorbell, so I had to go all the way downstairs. But essentially, I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be the smart. Like a small part of my was like, oh, the smartwatch came early, and then it was just someone asking me if I was gonna vote for O'Toole, and I was like, cool.
Yeah. This is exactly what I wanted. Oh man, I'm with you. I'm so excited for that watch. I had a Fitbit. I lost it at Burning Man, and I never got it back. It was a very emotional loss. It felt like a metaphor. It was like swirling around in the desert, and I got caught in a bike, and the guy had measured everything until then, and ever since that, my heart broke, and I just never renewed. So I look forward to getting this, so we can be watch friends, and we can compare all those things. I haven't actually even done that big of a deep dive into what exactly I'm going to use it for either, but I like it. I like the tech. So I just wonder, I guess, it's 12:40 here already, made it through. Apologize. My brain was melting for the first 15. I've just been drinking too much water. That's literally, that's the problem.
It should be good. Why is that affecting your negative?
You have to pee a lot. And so like this is Monica brought me this bottle. She's embarrassed. She didn't really articulate the color yet. Strong pink. But I'm okay with it. And,
all colors are for all genders.
I agree. Exactly. That's what I told her. She was like embarrassed and was like, I'm going to return it. I'm like, you know what? I like it. It makes me happy. I'm a colorful dude. And I have no problem with this. And it's also got a straw. So talk about technology. This is good stuff. And instead of measuring it, it just says 8 a.m. You should be here. 2 p.m.
Okay.
You should be here. So it's actually sort of helpful. But
you don't want a smart water bottle that tells you when to drink?
Yeah, it's just another vibration on your wrist. That's exactly,
But you can probably set that up on your Samsung Watch, like drinking reminders.
Yeah, that's looked at that for a long time. I used to see it on this top all the time. But
I just drink when I'm thirsty.
that's not good enough. It's not good enough.
I go through like 6 of these a day. So.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
You have to drink to the point you don't want to drink anymore, and then you gotta drink some more.
And just give yourself like water poisoning, water toxicity. Yeah.
So I've noticed like I'm a hungry guy, but anytime I'm hungry, I can just drink a bottle of water, and it's like, it's actually just dehydrated. So it's helped a lot, and I've noticed a lot of I've lost some body fat because of it. So it's only been a couple of weeks, but I've been doing some pretty exciting habit tracking stuff, and it's like it's built a pretty strong routine because I get a little dopamine because I built it into a Google Sheet. And every time I, hit a habit off, it gives me that little kick. So what I wish it was, though, is what you set up in Trello, which I never knew how to do, which was like put the little celebratory, like when you put into the done column, and it does your little
confetti comes up.
Yeah, man, what a little Easter egg hidden inside a system like that, right? So I guess, is there anything, Neil, you had a couple points here, but I know we're on a long, coming up on a long weekend, so we can end early, or if Neil, if either of you have some burning topics, we can go through those.
I mean, nothing specific to the business, but maybe this is like just fun hypothetical conversation territory. But one thing I was thinking about is like one thing I enjoy doing, for example, is when I go for my like evening walks, is I try like I use that as kind of a thinking time, right? But what I've found is thoughts are fleeting, right? So like it would be great, for example, if I just went on a walk with my Samsung watch and like I could just somehow figure out a workflow that works with Speak, and then so resurface those ideas for myself later down the road. And yeah, I'm not sure if like if I was a customer coming to you with that kind of use case, right? Like I'll pay $90 a month to do this. How could we, like, how would we make that work? Let's say if a direct integration isn't possible.
I mean, go ahead, Len, go ahead.
That reminds me of Justin the other time. Wasn't he walking around and like videotaping his conversations? And yeah, so it's possible. You can do it, and then you can just. Oh, okay. You need some sort of mic. Does this, like the watch, does it come with any sort of like?
It does a microphone.
Bluetooth.
It does.
Like
Yeah. So you can like connect your Bluetooth earbuds or whatever to the watch. And I think there's mic, like it does transfer mic capture as well.
There is, because I did have the 3 and I found that there was voice notes on it, or voice recording, and I was like, oh my God, this is mind blowing. But it uses like the default Android recording. Right. There is like,
so not good quality then.
It's good. No, it's fine. I mean, it doesn't transcribe it. It's just it records it. Actually, it can do speech to text, I think, for 10-minute limitation. But you can speak into it. I just think that right now, like again, the power, but then also the too wide of an application of our system. Sometimes it's like, oh, it creates an audio file. Now let's do something. But I don't think in that native application that Android uses for recording, there's like a trigger that could set it. Like if you could hook up that original one with 𝗲𝗲𝗄, you're good. You know what I mean? Like that exact workflow is already accomplished. But I think it's limited by default. So the only way for us to really get there is with a Samsung Watch app. And yeah, so yeah, I hope one day we will be able to do that, because we obviously have talked a lot about research, but like some of the most important research that you also do is like your own sort of personal research on yourself to optimize your life and things. So
and I mean, just feeding off of that, because when you talk about like, let's say integrating it as a Samsung Watch app, right? Like one thing that I've been reading up on, and might be part of our deeper conversation, was this idea of app marketplaces as a great way of fitting your product into larger ecosystems that are already built out, and using that as a marketing tool, acquisition tool, and just brand awareness around your product, right? So there's been an explosion, for example, just because of the cost of development, right? So Salesforce, Shopify, Zendesk, like all these huge companies have app marketplaces, right? And for example, even something as simple as like transcription, like I think I was looking at, I don't know if it might have been Zendesk yesterday. So they have a speech to text embed, or like speech to text option, just using the basic Google speech to text API, right? And they charge $7 a month to utilize that API, right? Sorry.
No, just interesting.
Yes. So it's like, if for these marketplaces, for example, if you had a pared down version of your application that just, for example, speaking about our customer funnels and like just trying to do a very specific job, and kind of using that to build this larger ecosystem, because like we know that 𝗣𝗲𝗁 loves his integrations.
Yes.
So it's like, I feel like that's a great way to harness that passion and use it in a way that's still using the platform, just distributing it in maybe a non-traditional manner through these app marketplaces, right?
Harnessing other people's development time. Why make something where you can just get an integration and have all the work done for you?
Exactly.
Oh, we didn't execute on it fully. I think we've got about 32 users to date on our Chrome extension. But like I was reading just today about the unicorns that have been built from Chrome extensions, you know, and one of those was Loom. I'm trying to think of the other three that they had in that article.
Honey,
but,
Grammarly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Amazing systems, right? And it's so easy to integrate, and the discoverability is there. So we still haven't done. I mean, that was just our little MVP. And again, you don't even have the workforce to be able to market each of those things individually. But if we could have got enough users and feedback and understanding, even that in its alone could be a powerful system, right? So even if we look through the lens of, again, maybe it's research, but here's everything that you browsed through today, and here's the 10 main topics that came out here. There's a lot of interesting stuff that can be done there. So yeah, I'm a big part of the marketplace things. I mean, that's how I found so many things in life. Even when we're sitting here on Zoom right now, you click and there's apps, and like there's how many people using Zoom each day. If we were, smart enough to get into one of these Discover apps, even in the top bar, the amount of visibility on your system every day just goes exponentially up.
On Zoom, where do you see these apps?
You go to the bottom right, see where it says React, right beside React, and then it says
Okay.
apps. You click that.
I think we don't have it because we're not admin.
Yeah.
Oh, losers. I know. I
geez.
didn't mean that. That was.
Gotta start hosting my own videos now.
Yeah. So I can see, I can't share this screen probably because I'm in the screen. But yeah, you can see just like there's a bunch of them. And like some of them are ones that we know, Miro, and I see Rev here, and a bunch of other ones, but still relatively limited. You'd think it's Gong, fuckers, love it.
We have one though. We have a Zoom integration.
We're working on the Zoom integration. I think that 𝗕ici's supposed to be doing it right now. So
Okay.
I'm hoping that actually comes. So that's just another little place to integrate in. And again, missed the boat a little bit on that, considering that, I mean, the pandemic arguably is coming to an end. But at the same time, I went to a couple in-person meetings this week, and I was like, you know what? I really don't want to do this. I enjoyed them a lot while I was there, but to drive and get there was time wasting and consuming and inefficient. So I think the virtual meetings that we're in will live on. I don't see too much change.
It's still nice to see people and touch them.
100%. I agree. I want to give you a hug, but I can give you a love through here.
Good enough. I'll take it.
Yeah, no, I know it's not enough. And I think for specific things, it's like impossible to replicate the in-person connection that is made. And it's hard to even fully know someone and understand them until you see them in person for some reason, whatever exactly that is. But there's a lot that can be done efficiently through this conferencing, and that's going to continue. So a couple more minutes. Anything else, guys? Okay.
I thought this was a nice little, like one of our new signups is like their main goal is for great transcripts, which is what we do. And I thought that was nice.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up. We've got a lot of good stuff in the system. I think it's just some things to figure out there. So look forward to continuing that journey with you guys. Well, Lauren's been here a very long time. Nihal, starting to be a long time. Feels like I've known you for a long time. Lots of these calls and chats and stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward. It's interesting, right? You do so much work, and then you integrate lessons and perspectives, and then you learn even quicker. So that's what I love, is just learning really quickly with other smart people and then continuing to build. So that's it. I guess we'll close this here and give you a little bit of time back. Anyone who tuned in, watched, listened, read, even though we haven't been producing these on the website like I should be, I thank you very much. And I hope anyone who does has a good long weekend here. And I hope you guys have a good long weekend too.
Likewise. Take care now.
Take care.